everybody. This is Candace Stewart. Welcome to my podcast, Trade Secrets. And with us today, I have Ken Sluiter. Ken Sluiter happens to be, do you consider yourself alum of this building?
In a way.
Okay.
I sort of showed up as I showed up as an adult, but at the same time, there was still a few things I had to learn. And
I don't think I showed up as an adult, but yeah. So one of the things, I don't know if you've listened to any of these, but it's kind of more about, it's not like about techie stuff or gear or anything like that. It's more about like kind of, there's no one way to get here, get your dream job. You don't even realize you're in it till you're in it. But I really only asked one question, and then we kind of progress from there, which is, where were you born?
Okay. I was born in Joliet, Illinois.
Okay.
An hour outside of Chicago.
Oh, okay.
And was raised in a small town called Wilmington, Illinois, outside of Joliet.
Okay. Do you have siblings, brothers and sisters?
One older sister.
Okay. What's she do?
She is like a corporate. She's like a corporate disaster recovery planner.
Oh God.
So she's got all these certifications, and makes sure.
What is corporate disaster recovery?
Well, I mean, like if there is like a natural disaster, say like a hurricane coming in and it shuts down a corporate HQ, there's a protocol that they go through, and she helps design that protocol. And
good for her.
She was a physics major, and she was like when we went to Catholic school.
Okay.
And her and the other smartest boy in her class, like, were going to 4th and 5th grade for like their English and math while they were in 1st. Yeah. They didn't allow you to like skip grades.
Yeah, we had something similar, which I'll talk about. But yeah.
But she was advanced, and so, and I wasn't. And I was a kid.
You're advanced.
Well,
Smart.
I didn't respect school the way my sister did, I think.
Right.
And so I got the, doesn't work up to his potential.
Oh yeah, I got that a lot too.
Yeah.
Doesn't pay attention. So, what did your mom and dad do?
Mom was a hairstylist.
Cool.
And which I think a lot of my console side manner is based on watching my mom like give someone
clients.
a perm. Yeah.
Nice.
And my dad was a school teacher.
He was?
Yeah, and a carpenter. He went back and forth between the two.
Oh, God bless him. But what, was he like one grade or?
He did, what he really was he was really a coach, a wrestling coach.
Oh, cool.
And then he taught math. He got a degree in mathematics. So he was a calculus high school teacher,
my
wrestling
least
coach.
favorite class in high school and college. I mean, your dad would have made it better, I'm sure. What's your dad's first name?
Al.
Al would have made it better, I'm sure. But
Big Al.
In college, calculus, I mean, in high school too. In high school, I had to, I skipped the 11th grade and I went to summer school. And so in my senior year, I had to take it to graduate.
Yeah.
And right up until the day of graduation, like the test that I took the day before was going to determine whether I graduated or not.
Yeah.
And I ended up acing it, thank God. But, dude, so hard. Calculus is fucking hard.
It is hard. It's funny, and I'm sure that you feel this way as well. I'm instinctively checking the levels because I can't not. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Don't look at the screen.
I think that as an adult, I think that I could do it now. In other words, I think my brain is more developed and it's more interesting to me because I think that I have context, and I think that
engineering.
This is all like logical, rational. Like you have to be like.
Well, music is math.
Really, and music is math, but it's very sensible and methodical.
It makes sense. So, one of the things I like to talk about is, you're younger than me, and I wonder, like, was there art in your elementary school? Like, was there music class? Was there art? Did you have a band, chorus?
Well, I missed out on the public school, like middle school band.
Did you go to private school?
I went to a Catholic school.
Okay.
Yeah, 12 years of Catholic school.
Okay. And all boys or mixed? Co-ed?
High school was all boys. And that didn't work out, but that's
what
another.
Is that all about?
That's another podcast.
Yeah, the Jesuits and the ruining of high school.
Yeah, that's right. No, but I ended up. But then I ended up going to another high school, but all Catholic school. But my public school friends were in school band, marching band, and whatnot.
So wait, so elementary school and junior high school Catholic, there was no art. Come the fuck on.
There was like some kumbaya, like gather around. I played a little guitar in church.
Okay.
Okay. I'll tell you.
Yeah. Tell me
my
about that.
childhood music experience was more along the lines of, like I remember what the car smelled like when I first heard Band on the Run.
That's what I was going to ask. What is the first song you really remember?
It's that Rhinestone Cowboy, AM Gold,
Wow.
AM Gold of the early 70s. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road was
of course.
huge
that's
record.
Such a great record. I'm gonna listen to that later.
It's incredible. So addicted to that. My dad played like a little bit of folk guitar. He knew like the cowboy chords and stuff.
Nice.
And then I discovered
serenading your mom.
My mom, Mel and Gwen, yeah.
Shut up, kids! Go get the coleslaw
with some garlic bread.
Yeah. We're having hot dogs on the grill, and Dad's gonna do this.
And then you kids go to bed.
Yeah. Go to bed at 7:00. I was joking. I can say anything I want. It's my podcast. Yeah. So I was joking. I was talking to someone the other day. Both my parents have passed. God bless them. But it would always be like, it's it'd still be light outside. I'm from South Carolina. It'd be light outside in the summer until like 10:00 at night.
Yeah.
The sun was out, right? It'd be like 7:00, and my mom would be like, we ate dinner. We'd be like, go to bed. Be like, it's 7:00. Go to bed anyway.
Yeah,
You come to realize later, they just want you to go away so they can either go have sex or talk or watch TV, just to get you the fuck out of there because they're sick of the kids.
Yes.
And
enough.
my mom, your mom and dad just had you and your sister, but my parents had 3 boys and then me. It was like,
that's right.
Oh my God.
That's right.
It's been so worn out, Yeah. But I think I'm older than you, but that sort of, I think I still have that sort of attitude, that like innocence and happiness, like the, like the 50s kind of thing for me. I was born in 1959, but the 60s, it was like, oh yeah, we're just going to, we're going to barbecue, we're going to hang out, we're just going to,
Yeah, well, and I would even say...
Get in the station wagon and drive across country, I don't know.
And that was my experience as well. In other words, our
suburban U.S.
Our
man.
upbringing was probably close. It was much
Middle
closer
class.
to my parents than my children's are with my
Right,
generation.
right.
Pre-internet, pre-technology, and it was things just moved much slower.
How happy are we that we're not video monitored as children and teenagers? I'd be in jail.
Oh my God. I think about that. I think about that as I watch my kids all the time.
You know what I mean?
On the phone,
yeah.
Their
It's
whereabouts.
like, you'd leave in the day, you'd go out on your bike, and you come back when it got dark.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Basically, or you come home when you're supposed to come home for dinner.
When you heard the bell.
Yeah, basically, like dinner's ready. It's kind of, it wasn't like the Donna Reed show, but in my house, my dad cooked, which was a little different, but it was the same kind of vibe. My mom was gorgeous, my dad was a genius. Everybody was cool. Your mom was pretty. She's a hairdresser.
Yeah.
Your dad was cool.
It was very pleasant.
Yeah, a great childhood.
Yeah,
Pleasant Valley Sunday.
That's right. And part of that, my equivalent of, I didn't have the school band, but what I did have was I came up through the guitar store with the little room in the back that gave guitar lessons.
Dude, I love this. Mark Needham, almost a lot of people that have done this podcast with me have had a similar experience. Mark Needham was one of them, which is that he grew up in this little town on the Lost Coast up in Northern California.
Mm-hmm.
You know Mark Needham.
A little bit, yeah.
And he went into San Francisco and he worked for this guitar teacher dude. And then they decided to start recording the lessons. And he is a guitar player, but that's how he learned initially to record. But I digress. I jump ahead. We got to get back to Ken's childhood.
But I'll just add one thing to that is playing guitar is one thing, recording is another thing. But when you play yourself recording and you hear it back,
then you stop playing guitar.
Well, you might. You might.
You go, I fucking suck.
Yeah. I need to get better.
No.
But yeah. So I'm taking guitar lessons, and this. What's funny is that all my favorite guitar players are like James Honeyman Scott, Chris Spedding, Elliot Easton, guys who have like Nashville licks.
I love that, and it's also you got a very new wave selection.
Well, and that's where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
But the country guitar teacher turned me over to like the younger guitar guy, who taught me taste in music. But I actually think the country guy would have taught me the licks that I actually would have come in handier in my adult life.
Well, Nashville cats.
Exactly. But this guy, so I'm like literally like 9 or 10 years old, and he's like telling me about Blondie, The Pretenders, Roxy Music,
all my favorite
all the
shit.
new wave. Gary Newman's on the radio, Human League's on the radio.
Dude, Thomas Dolby, Joe Jackson, that time frame.
Yeah. It's
the
so
Cars,
much,
of course.
so much good music, and I never really got like to become like this like shredding guitar player, but I got a drum machine and I could play in the pocket and in the groove.
We were talking about Easy Drummer the other day. Okay, again, one of the things I do want to mention on my podcast is how important a real recording studio is, whether it's in your home with real proper pro gear or a place like this with acoustic spaces. There's no replacement for real good musicians and real good players.
Yeah.
But if you're in a jam and you need a drummer and you're writing a song and you need to get the groove of the song, dude, Easy Drummer's insane.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I know, shout out to, I don't even know who made Easy Drummer.
No, there's a few of them out there that are really good. And if for nothing else, just playing against...
For demoing.
Well, and just
writing.
playing against a fixed time groove is so important for your chops, because it's not just about how fast you can play these runs. It's just about how you groove.
It's not Joe Satriani time.
No.
It's not what's his name? Yngwie Malmsteen time.
Well, and the thing is my brain doesn't move that fast. It would never move that fast. So
Eddie Van Halen was a beautiful combo of the shred and the tasty.
It's the riffs are the most memorable thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
the shred and the
shredding is fun, but for me, that's a whole different
For me,
podcast. You don't want to get me started on Van Halen.
For me, favorite guitar player was and always will be Jeff Beck.
I could see that.
For me, without question.
Yeah.
Just melodic, where the guitars sang, because he wasn't a singer, except for that record that he did with Rod Stewart. But then, his guitars sang.
Yeah.
And a lot of other incredible guitar players.
For sure, yeah.
So, but we're going to go talk about Ken now.
Yeah, let's not talk about those great guitar players. Let's talk about me.
I know. But, so Catholic school, that's certainly a shaping.
Yeah.
I don't say rural.
That's why
rural
I'm repressed.
Rural Illinois. Paula was talking about it just a minute ago, But I think, having that innocence and that good home life, I had the greatest childhood ever, and you had a great childhood and nice parents. And that sets a tone for you. It's good and it's bad. It's, I can do anything I want, but was anyone beating your ass about what direction you were supposed to go in? They weren't with me. They weren't like, you have to do this, or you have to be a lawyer, or you have to be a doctor. They were like, you could be an astronaut. I'm like, what? Really?
Okay. Yeah, well, maybe
shit. Maybe I should join the Navy or something.
Because I've been getting high.
Yeah.
Maybe I could.
I'm out of this world. But
get even higher.
It's so funny. But I think that, okay, let's just God bless every good mom and dad out there.
Yeah.
Just thank you, first of all, for feeding us and giving us shelter.
Yeah. My dad always told me, he said, there's a spring on your bed, and on your 18th birthday, a hatch is going to open above your bedroom and just going to catapult you out of the house.
Well, I left home early at 16. My father had passed, but no hard feelings or anything. I think I was like on the fast track because my dad was gone and my brothers were gone. I just want to get the fuck out of
You
high
had older
school.
brothers who were on a path.
Yeah, they were on a path,
yeah.
and I was on a different path. I was going to be a gem cutter. That's another story for another time. But I wanted to be a diamond cutter. But I was a geology major in college. But then I became a psych major. It's all crazy. But Ken, he gets this early bug for music. And do you remember like 8 years old, 7 years old? Was there music besides your dad playing a little bit? Was there a piano in your house?
No piano. There was. My parents are sort of like.
Are they square, mom and dad?
Sort of square, but sort of hippie. So there was like Iron Butterfly.
Oh, I like it.
And there was,
Joni Baez, probably.
I don't remember if there was Joan Baez, but there was like Herb Alpert and
cool. Dude, that's so good now when you listen to that now.
Yeah.
Fuck, it's so good.
Creedence.
I love Creedence.
Led Zeppelin 3.
Best.
And then, and here's the moment, and I've probably shared this with you before. Back in the 70s, I was like, let's go get some food. We're taking the kids to a bar, So we're eating it at a bar, at the local bar.
Well, I think that, and not to interrupt, but one of the things I think is really cool, and I mentioned this earlier to someone, is that, in I don't want to say small towns, but when you go to, like, even in Charleston, my hometown, you go to a bar where there's live music, and there's people that are 18, and there's people that are 80.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's food, and there's now you can't go in a bar when you're under 21, but you could go to a restaurant with your parents that served alcohol if you were with your parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it wasn't a thing. You were just in a restaurant that served alcohol, and you were. I mean, the same today. Your parent, people can go into the fucking Ruth's Chris, and the mom and dad can get a martini, and the kid can get a Coke. It's the same fucking thing.
But the difference was we wandered around after we would eat. And there was this band, and I had heard the song on the radio, and I didn't know that it wasn't the real band.
So it's a top 40 band.
It was a cover band. That was very big in Illinois in the 70s and 80s. Well, anywhere, I think, even to this day.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends who are in proper bands who are now doing cover bands, and they're like, we're making great money, having a great time. They're like we play
Yacht
3
rock,
hours
baby.
of the best music ever. But anyway, this band was playing Fox on the Run, and I just sat there.
Isn't that sweet?
Sweet, yeah.
I got to work with them. I love Steve. I got to work with them.
Yeah. Amazing band, and it just blew my mind. And it just almost to the point where I'm like, did I dream that? And I've done like internet searches, and I found the band was called the Slip Mahoney Band, and they were like a cover band, and everyone in the band like looked like they were in the Bay City Rollers or the Cars.
I love it, or the Ruddles or something.
Yeah,
or whatever.
They looked cool. They had the whole look. They had the sound. It was Marshall's, Les Paul.
Nice.
And so that just became like.
What were they called?
The Slip Mahoney Band.
I love this.
Yeah, and they were just a great rock band, and they were playing like the sort of glitter rock glam like era of the day.
Sweet is rad, dude.
Yeah, and I was. And
it's the Sweet, by the way.
The Sweet, that's right. Yeah, thank you for correcting me.
No.
So you know. It was all rock and roll then. Kiss, Zeppelin, Cheap Trick, you know, all of it.
Dude, Robin Zander to this day, Chris Cornell and Robin Zander, of course Rod Stewart, but Robin Zander, one of the finest rock singers walking the earth.
Oh my God, yeah.
Sure. And funny story, you'll appreciate this. Yeah. The phone rings, it's about a couple years ago, and somebody says, and I had worked with Cheap Trick over the years at various studios. For a long time at Cello and a long time. But we're at East West Studios right now. It used to be called Cello. And the phone rings and they said, Robin Zander's on the phone. And I thought for sure it was somebody fucking with me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, whatever. I pick it up. I go, yeah. And he goes, hey, Candace. And I go, oh, shit. And I go, and you could just tell by his voice.
Yeah.
And it was Robin. And I ended up, was so cool. His daughter is named Robin. His son is also named Robin.
I knew that.
And his daughter is Robin Saylor, and she was over next door at Emerson, and he asked me if she could do an internship. And I said, well, sure, of course. Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's what we call who you know. It's who your parents are in this case.
Doesn't
who
hurt.
you know, doesn't hurt, right? And so she was so lovely. But yeah, I remember his 29th birthday when I gave him a cake that was shaped like boobs. It was many, not that many, but a few years ago.
Yeah.
And he still remembers that.
We're 29 now.
That's
so
right. We were one. But he still remembers that. But yeah, you're hearing Cheap Trick. You're hearing stuff like, and Dude, how good are those records, dude?
All those records are incredible.
And then you start looking at it. Did you find? I guess that's a question. I used to look at the backs of albums, and I found, like, there were names that didn't mean anything to me, the producers and the engineers. But I would look at the back of the record, and there was definitely I liked records that were done by the same people.
Well, that for me.
Was the revelation.
That was the moment where I'm hearing the backing vocals on the first Cars record. I'm hearing the backing vocals on Queen's record, and I'm seeing the same name on both of those records, and I'm like, okay,
Roy Thomas
who's this
Baker.
Roy Thomas Baker guy?
Yeah.
You know, and
such a nice guy too.
And that was the first moment of wait, I think I'm seeing these same few names on all these records. You know, Mike Chapman, Roy Thomas Baker. You know Jack Douglas.
Yeah.
Aerosmith's Toys in the Attic was a big record in our house, and we had the big Zenith console piece of furniture, but it had low end.
Did the turntable flop down and the speakers opened out?
Not quite that fancy, but it did have the lid on top that you opened it up, and we would play our records, and it was rocking. It was incredible.
Dude, it's so crazy because I look back now and, when you're a kid, you don't think your parents are cool. I mean, you love them, but you don't think they're cool. I look back, my parents were so hip. My mom had she always had these albums that were from movies.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like Cleopatra. Dude, the fucking theme and the score to that movie it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I listen to the record and I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
But then you start listening to for me, it was they make you dance to the Beatles or Twist and Shout or something like that.
Sure.
But I do have a homework assignment for everyone listening to this podcast. And that is that go to YouTube and look up a show called the Tammy Awards.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this is 1964. It just shows you how uniting music is and always will be. You got Jan and Dean as the hosts.
Yeah.
You got Chuck Berry, Leslie Gore, Jerry and the Pacemakers. You got people from England. You got black people, white people, young people, old people, everybody playing together. And you're going to laugh your ass off. because the Stones, it's 1964, and Mick Jagger has to follow James Brown after he does 3 encores, dude.
Wow.
It's like, holy crap. But it's in the Santa Monica Civic.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, he grew up in Illinois, and I grew up in South Carolina, and I love where I live, and I'm sure he did too. But you looked at California, and you saw California like you saw the Gidget movies or the Beach Blanket Bingo movies or even the Elvis Presley movies, and you see California, and you're like, I want to go there.
This is where the culture is.
Yeah.
Like this is where American culture. I mean, and there's
rock and roll culture, but yeah.
For sure.
There's blues, there's jazz, there's all kinds of culture across this beautiful country. But you look at California and you see those movies in the 60s and the 70s and all that, and then you see the Monkees.
Yeah.
Or you see the Partridge Family, and you go, okay, I want to go there.
Well, especially if
I was actually born here.
If you were watching TV and suddenly somebody had some cool guitar on TV.
Dude, even the Brady Bunch tried to...
look at that guitar that guy's playing.
Dude,
that's incredible.
It's incredible, right? And the Brady Bunch even would have, like, you'd see every now and then all those TV shows, like... somebody would come on.
Yeah.
That was a current pop star.
Yeah, Davy Jones.
Or Bobby Sherman.
Yeah.
Or somebody like that, would pop into and do a cameo on the TV show, know. And you're like, what the fuck? This is crazy. But I do think that, without sounding corny, music is the soundtrack of our lives, all these things. But music, you remember like where you were when you heard a song the first time, how you felt. Music it elicits so much emotion. Your first high school girlfriend, that first high school heartache when she told you to fuck off.
Yeah. And the record you were listening to, they got you through that.
Right, they got you through that. So So you're taking lessons. So we love that mom and dad are supporting this.
So and
now, how old were you during the guitar lessons?
I was probably like 9 or 10 years old.
Okay.
I was,
Let's keep Ken busy.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is tying it back to where we started was because my sister was such a good student, they had to almost assign me to be good at something just to make it fair. And so I was like, oh, Ken's into music. And so I was encouraged by it. And then when I was in high school, that Beatles book came out, the Beatles recording sessions.
Oh, amazing.
And as I just started reading through that, I'm like, this is what I'm doing.
Dude, Jeff Emmerich, Ken Scott.
Yeah. Just to read the day-to-day of how they put those records together.
Alan Parsons is the tape op.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, Jerry Boys, who I worked with, all these, names. And that was the thing that made me... I applied to one college, like when I went to, like in other words, now you send out a bunch of applications, and it was Columbia College. It was in Chicago. It was an hour away. They had an audio engineering program. I'm kind of jumping over high school.
But it doesn't matter. But were they the same Columbia house that became the one that would send you the CDs every 5 minutes?
No,
that was Columbia Records.
Yeah, that was Columbia Records. That's Indiana. That's one state over.
Yeah.
But and then I should just also say that same kind of guy who taught me, who kind of helped shape my taste in music when I was younger, in 1984, MIDI rolled out, and I was like using MIDI sequencers and
You're
stuff.
You're fucking around in your house.
14, I'm fucking around in my house. And also, he had a band, and in that era, a band would like play gigs with their own PA system.
Who is this he?
This is my guitar teacher,
What's his name?
Greg Carboni.
Thank you, Mr. Carboni, for creating it.
He taught me some licks. He taught me
for lighting a spark in this great engineer producer's brain.
He kind of did. Well, and it kind of became like, oh, the sound guy isn't available, and I could set up the PA and run by the time I was 14 or 15, I could do like a front of house, like a mix in a bar for a band, and was often doing that kind of stuff.
Our videographer is a great recording engineer and a live sound guy. Shout out to Nate.
It's a hard thing to do. Most people don't do both.
Yeah.
It's a very different thing. But I was just any chance to get my hands on anyone's gear.
But no high school band?
Oh, I had all the times in high school I had like garage bands, and I actually.
And did you play guitar and sing, or did
I played guitar, and then I played keyboards in this band. This guy had released a record and wanted to do some shows to promote it, and this is back in Joliet, and the drummer in the band was Jimmy Chamberlain from the Smashing Pumpkins.
Amazing.
And I was like 15. Like my sister was driving me to the rehearsals. I didn't even drive yet.
I love it.
And so we rehearsed that band and had a set and did some, not much, and then all through college was in bands. And then when I started working in recording studios, I said, the band days are over. I'm done with that. I'm focused on this.
So when you went to college and they had the audio program, like, was it recording like you and I know now, or what was the deal?
Well, I'll tell you.
Did they have a console?
Here's what okay. This is all roads tie back to this. Is one reason why I feel like this is ground zero is that the audio department at Columbia. This is 1988, and it was an extension of the radio department. All the classes, other than like the electronics classes and stuff, all the studio classes were booked in studios in Chicago, and this was an era.
How cool is that?
Well, it was my first class was at Universal Recording.
Oh my God!
So when I walked into Studio One here, it wasn't just the acoustics, it was like the smell of the place. I'm like, I've been in this room. The pegboard, the smell of old pegboard.
Bill Putnam.
That's what it smelled like over there. And it was clearly a Putnam room. And in that era, I'll use Universal as an example. There was one big room for like your Studio One, and then there was two smaller music rooms. But then there was a dozen small production rooms of people doing voiceovers, sound effects editing, commercials for local car dealers.
In the program that you went to, were you learning how to do, like, did you learn different types of recording, like how to do a jingle or how to do an ad, or was it more just recording in general? Like, did they try to steer you?
They didn't get you so much into what you were going to specialize in. It was more just the nuts and bolts of, and it could get pretty technical. And also there was like room acoustics and design, time delay spectrometry, and tells on, understanding what RT60 is.
I don't know what that is. What is RT60?
Like, well, this when the time it takes for reverb to get below 60 dB, below 60 dB SPL.
See, Ken's a scientist.
Well, I don't know about that, but I could have gone that direction. But then there was also classes that would teach you how to like wire a sound system for a library or a public space or a drive-through. It's all audio related.
Right, yeah.
So there was concert sound. Like,
I think we should get intercoms in our houses, like really high fidelity intercoms, right? Where you could just like press a button and then. I guess they do have that with Google House.
I think it's on your phone. Well, Google Home, you can do that if you know how to do it. If you know how to do it.
But I'm saying the intercom.
Yeah.
No video, just the audio.
No video.
No videos.
Absolutely.
Fuck the Ring cameras.
But so I was taking a class there, and then I was taking a class at a studio called Paragon, and Paragon was where like a bunch of Styx records were done and a ton of overdubs.
What a great band.
Well, they were a Chicago band, but also this was the era that a touring band, say Supertramp or Genesis or Peter Gabriel, these bands would hub out of Chicago while they were on a U.S. tour and maybe spend a week doing overdubs because they would travel with their tapes. So a lot of these studios were doing overdubs on real records that weren't records that we think of as being done in L.A.
or studio records
or New York or London, which they were, but the overdubs were being done while the band was on tour at these, and these were professional studios. Like when I started working in Chicago, there was at least 12 SSL rooms, 6 VR rooms.
What was the like your teachers? We assume your teachers were good. We're assuming they were encouraging.
Yeah.
Did they give you a leg up? Did someone make a call, or did you do it on your own?
Well, one thing happened. Well, 2 things happened. 3 things happened. Sorry.
75 things happened. No.
Okay.
How'd you get the first gig?
I had been
Studio gig.
Okay, I had been working at a theater doing like stagehand work and like front of house stuff at a theater as well. Like through the union, through IATSE, and where I wasn't in the union, but I did have to pay union. I had to pay a piece of my paycheck to them because it was real money for like the. I got an internship at a studio that was like jingles by day and then records on nights and weekends.
I brought this up more than once. Learning how to do a jingle will make you so fast.
You have to be fast.
You have to be fast. Good.
Yeah.
But fast.
Has to sound good. It
has to sound good quick.
It has to sound good right now, and you would start a project in the morning and you'd be mixing it and editing the deliveries, because you might do like a 60-second piece of music, but you have to cut it down to 30 seconds. 15 seconds, 10-second bumpers, and you're doing it all with razor blades.
People
and by the end
don't
of the
know
day,
what bumpers are. They don't know what any of that stuff is.
And so we were doing a lot of what they call like audio branding now, but back then we just called it jingles.
Jingles, commercials.
And so that was happening.
Advertising.
Advertising agencies were the primary.
Dude, and you had in Chicago, you had Daly and Associates. I used to do so much work with all these companies out of Chicago, and they opened up offices in New York and LA too. It was like Mad Men.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It was. Yeah, J. Walter Thompson, Leo Burnett, DDB Needham,
Daly and Associates, Chiat Day eventually.
Yep.
But always they might have small editing facilities, but they didn't have recording studios.
Right. And so we were doing
talent had to go somewhere.
Yeah, talent. Well, and eventually some of them started doing I watched it change, but when I got on, it was so that studio had 2 rooms. One was a production room that did like voiceover editing and sound effects editing, and I worked in that room quite a bit. And then the other room had a Neotech console, JH24, some German mics, some Austrian mics,
nice.
And a small live room and a booth, and a 480L,
nice.
and some decent compressors, and so we were making music in there all the time. And then at night it would be that band Ministry would be recording
at God.
Chicago. Well, not at this studio, but there's like 2 main dudes in Ministry, and one was insane. And that's a whole other podcast.
I don't even know the band that well.
But it was like 2 guys, and one was pretty straight, and one guy was pretty out there. And so the straight guy would come over with his engineer sometimes to our studio because it was calm at night, and they would do some Sound Tools editing because we had a Sound Tools system.
Pre-Pro Tools, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, and that's 3 things happened at once. Is my senior year at Columbia, they came to me and they said, "How many more credits do you need to graduate?" And I, showed them like my transcripts, and they said, "We'll take care of all these. We're getting 4 Pro Tool systems, and we picked the top 4 guys in the program, and you're just going to sit in this room and put together. This is Pro Tools 1.0, like assembling the very first Pro Tool systems that came into Chicago."
I didn't think Pro Tools sounded that great when it first came out because I was spoiled and was working in these great studios and listening to, the mono mamas and papas.
Yeah.
Which sounds so fucking, it still sounds amazing. But you realize now, and we still use tape all the time, so that's another thing.
Yeah.
But basically, and I think that you would agree, basically it just replaced the tape machine.
Well, I would say that, so that was probably like
They were together for a long time.
That was 92,
yeah.
Right? So just to paint a picture, that was not, well, and so point being is as I was working and as I was working on these sessions in the studios, I bought one of my own rigs, put it in a flight case, and I was moving my rig into other people's studios and just flying around vocals and doing drum repairs and stuff. I would sync the Pro Tools up to the tape machine.
Yeah.
And
we still do that.
Make the fixes and put it back. But the tape machine was the master.
Yeah.
And then, like around 2000, and part of it was because hard drives started getting bigger, that you could think of the hard drive as like the tape, like it had enough storage.
Wasn't it like LTOs and shit like that?
It was DDS tapes,
a lot of different formats that people couldn't quite make up their minds about.
Yeah, it was, and also the Pro Tools rigs were changing every 3 years, and you had to lease them, and it was expensive.
Very
expensive. So expensive to
the first rig I bought here at Cello, Gary and I think I took a second out of my house, and Gary Meyerberg, who was the chief engineer at the time with me here at Cello.
I know Gary very well.
We bought an early Pro Tools rig, and we leased it back to the studio because the studio didn't want to buy one.
Yeah.
So we didn't really make any money on it, but we made enough money to cover the payment, and then the studio had this Pro Tools rig.
Well, and when I first moved to LA, all the studios had Design Effects or Rack Attack or,
rental rigs.
Rental rigs.
And a Pro Tools operator was a separate guy who could and still, I do film dates still.
Yeah.
Where there's a separate Pro Tools guy.
You really should have one. If you have the same guy taking care of the microphones and being the recordist on a scoring date, and we've done it. It happens all the time. But that's a lot
of work.
That's a lot of assistants on scoring dates are the fulcrum of the entire session.
I agree.
Hangs on that guy.
I agree.
That guy is doing the hardest work.
Yeah.
Harder than anyone else in the room.
Most of the time, the first is running Pro Tools when we're doing the scoring dates.
Yeah.
But the assistant is, it's a lot.
I prefer to run it. Bill Mims is the only person I've ever had run Pro Tools where I'm like, he's got it. Like, he's got it. I don't need to worry about this.
Right.
Usually I'm worrying about it. It's like, I would just rather do it myself.
Yeah. We got great guys, though. So when you came here, you'd already been firsting. But you were sort of a staff guy for a minute.
Well, you know what it was? Well, so point being,
yeah, we're at East West. If I said that,
yeah. So I worked in Chicago. The '90s were fantastic. Right around 2002, just everyone who was about my age, the music business was centralizing to Nashville and LA in my mind. If you wanted to keep working on records with decent budgets, so I moved here, and then worked at a bunch of different places. By 2008, I actually interviewed with Doug here.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that crazy? This is pre-Candace East West, and I was kind of brought in to work on we were working on the libraries, on the sound libraries.
Okay.
But I was up for assisting. It was 2008. No one was working, doing anything in the world, and I told my wife, I said, I would be starting at an entry-level position in another career. I'd rather I'm still interested in doing this. I'm just going to do it over here.
Yeah.
And so I started working for East West Sounds with doing like the first libraries, and then I brought in the Jerry Lee Lewis record, and so
what a great thing
for a couple of years. It was like one day I would show up and I was working for the studio. The next day I would show up and I was the client. And that seemed unusual to me, but it's actually not that unusual. People get in those situations.
It was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved it.
We worked happily for years. And I loved being here. And I felt like, point being, and I've made this point before, is that when I showed up to LA, I was working. I had done a lot of records.
And you got to work in this building.
But then I got to work in this building, and then I got to work with like the LA engineers who kind of retrained me on how to do things. I mean, I've met Jim Scott,
so amazing.
Don Smith,
so great,
the man upstairs,
Joe Ciccarelli.
God, no, Joe.
The man upstairs. It's not God, ladies and gentlemen. The man upstairs is Joe Ciccarelli.
Yeah. But just really learning how it's
LA vibe,
done.
Man.
Yeah.
The LA vibe, and I feel so lucky every day to fucking walk in here. Seriously, I do, and. These past couple episodes, I've been bringing up, again, the home studio thing, not anti-home studio or anything like that, but one day, these places might not be here, and people will never know the contribution that the acoustic space makes. Not that they don't have good acoustic spaces in home studios, but the acoustic space and the gear.
They
don't have this.
But they don't have this. Yeah, this is a different thing.
It's a different animal. And then the other thing is the collaboration that occurs. The walking through the hallway, musicians seeing each other, producers and engineers seeing, oh, what are you working on, man? Oh, I'm doing this string date. Oh, yeah, what are you doing? Oh, I'm doing this rock thing. Or I'm doing this R&B thing or this hip-hop thing. Or I'm doing this jazz thing. And everybody just kind of, you're not so isolated.
Yeah, well, you're not isolated. And also, a fair amount of my work has been other engineers pulling me into projects. Hey, can you help me with this thing? We need more ears on this.
And certainly no shame in, like you said, what you said was important. It was like learning from different people, and it sounds, you never stop learning, but you keep learning. And I think one of the things about engineering that I love so much, maybe doctors are like this too, where they learn tricks from other doctors, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like when you're an intern and oh, wow, what's that guy doing that way with the heart? That's cool. I'll do that. No, but it's same with engineering is that you kind of like look at what someone does, whether it's a unique mic placement or something that they did, and you go, I like that. I'm going to incorporate that into my toolbox.
Or how you handle a situation.
Yeah, with grace.
That's. I mean, mic technique. I mean, all that stuff.
Yeah, that's
nerdy.
Matters. But you're right. But the vibe.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
You're a good vibe.
I try to be a good vibe.
You're a great vibe.
I can get fussy. But I try to, and I'm in a good vibe when you're in the right place that's built to do what it needs to do.
Yeah. I mean, things go wrong. And when you're an assistant or when you're a first engineer, the way you deal with it keeps the momentum of the session going or it kills the vibe completely.
You got to keep it rolling.
You got to keep it rolling. If you got to work around a channel or a mic goes down, you know what? Get another mic.
Yeah. No,
don't be a giant baby and shut the whole thing down.
Don't throw everybody under the bus. Throw the studio or the assistant under the bus. You just got to roll with it because the artist.
Be classy.
Well, the artist is sensitive, and
the artist doesn't know.
Like if you're out there singing.
And then you hear them bickering.
The bickering about something that has nothing to do with what you're singing. That's a bummer.
That's vibe kill.
Exactly.
That's a bummer. So yeah, and I've said this a couple times too. Like everybody thinks like some people come to me and they had very first job interview fresh out of school, and they're like, "Well, I want to be a producer." I'm like, "Well, for me, there's other steps before you get to that point, and that's fine. You can be a producer, but everybody always thinks, oh man, I'm going to be up here and no one's going to be telling me what to do. You're always subordinate to the artist.
100%.
Dude,
yep.
the producer subordinate to the artist. The first engineer is subordinate to the producer.
Yeah.
The assistant engineer is helping the first engineer. The runner is helping the assistant. Everybody's helping each other.
Well, and the answer is yes before you know what the
Absolutely.
question is. Like within the law.
Yes, the law
more or less
of audio.
Yeah.
It is yes, I can do it. Yes, I will be there. That's the rule. Both Al Schmidt and Ciccarelli said the same. You never say no.
Yeah.
You say yes. I mean, you can drive yourself crazy if you get really busy and you get spread thin, and then you refer it to someone that you trust.
Yeah.
Back full circle to our conversation of getting overflow.
Yeah.
Or getting an introduction to an artist. I've mentioned this before, and I hope they don't mind me mentioning this, but as far as I understand it, Chris Lord-Alge was up to do Back in the High Life with Steve Winwood, and he was just packed and couldn't do it. Tommy did it. Maybe that's not how it worked, but Tommy did it. Tommy does that record. Back in the High Life with Steve Winwood. He was already a known guy, Tom Lord-Alge, but that record, holy crap, that record, in my mind, propelled him into the mainstream.
The era of
and they're both still killing it.
Yeah,
totally. But and by the way, what do you do when you record Steve Winwood? You just don't fuck it up. It's fucking Steve Winwood.
It's a huge advantage.
Yeah, well, he's not a shitty singer.
But that was a very modern sounding record for the time.
Great. Tom did an amazing job.
And to hear a classic voice like Steve Winwood.
Oh yeah.
And thread the needle of we're going to make this still sound like Steve Winwood,
but bring it into the now.
But we're going to bring it into.
It's not going to be Spencer Davis group. It's going to be Steve Winwood.
Exactly.
Now. Yeah. So shout out to them.
Yeah, and getting back to what you said about people telling you that they want to be a producer, the one thing that I resisted it for so long, but when I have that conversation with people, I have to remind myself, I think that you and I might have a different definition of what producer is compared with the rest of the...
I think you're always a producer.
Well, but what I think is, I think that most people say music producer meaning they're making music. So if you have making beats at home on your laptop...
then that's not what and I think it different.
What I think of is you're the person who's been entrusted with the making of this record that's going to make a record that the band is proud of and the label thinks that they can make something happen.
Well, we're not... By the way, our way is the right way, okay?
Yeah, ours is the correct definition.
Ours is the correct definition because it's one thing to be making beats. See, when you're doing that to us, you're a creator. You're a songwriter. Yeah. You're making beats. You're writing parts. Whether you're writing the music or you're writing lyrics or whatever it is, you're an artist. That's fine. We need you. God bless. But producers really, and the definition still is, that they get the budget and they're answering to the label. They're booking the studio. They're hiring. They either have a first engineer they work with all the time. Maybe they're doing both jobs like Mr. Ciccarelli does. Yeah. But ultimately they're working with the artist to shape the record that the artist wants. And they're there to uplift it, enhance it through their use of these technological tools that they understand how to use to make it sound better.
Yeah.
Phil Spector. Case in point, producer.
Yeah.
David Foster, artist, producer.
For sure.
Rick Rubin, the ultimate fan.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
And an amazing producer who can elicit performance from an artist and make them feel comfortable.
Well, and it's funny, those examples of everyone you mentioned, what they bring to the table in their skill set is so different.
Yeah.
Yet they are all very much that's undeniably. And that's what's interesting is that the actual job description is somewhat intangible in a way. In other words,
I'm going to give you my baby.
Yeah.
And you're going to make my baby happier and better, and you're not going to kill my baby.
Yeah.
The baby is the song. The baby is the music.
The song, the lyrics.
The artist is vulnerable, giving you their heart and soul.
Well, and that's where my mom as a hairstylist comes in. It's it might not be the baby, but it is. This is my new haircut.
This is my hair, my look.
That's me making that. Why would I be making that example? But
it's a great example, though, because you see how she makes people feel comfortable. Yeah. And they're vulnerable because, dude, this is how they look.
Yeah.
You can't burn their hair off.
You're going to have to go to the mall with this hairstyle. Just like a band is going to have to go out. You're going to go tour this record. So make sure that all the lyrics are things that you're not going to cringe when you sing them on stage.
Yeah, you're you gotta love it. And again, the producer, it's all about the artist.
Yeah.
It's all about the song. It's all about the music. It's all about the artist. And so, Andrew Watt, great young producer, creator, writer, musician, multi-instrumentalist. Plenty of producers are musicians, and plenty of producers are not.
Yeah.
Plenty of producers are engineers, and plenty are not.
Yeah.
Most of the producers that I have worked with in my career have been engineers.
Engineer, producer. That's one, in my mind,
that's a path.
You're either coming to it as like what I see is sideman who starts co-writing with the artist, and now they're producing the record.
Yep.
Or you're an engineer.
Keith Forsey's a drummer. He does Billy Idol.
Yeah. Or, and, but I think the engineer producer is more, when I was coming up, that was the path.
It's what I'm the most used to over my span of my career, for sure. And so that's why I say, that's the steps that you and I know of.
Yeah.
The step is your... whatever your early phase is, you're an assistant, then you're an engineer, then you're a producer.
Well, and I would even say, when people make the case of like, what's the difference between a producer and an engineer? The roles are so, and I think to myself, when I'm hired to produce, I can feel it from the moment I walk into the session that it's a totally different job.
Yeah. But it is a different job.
It is a totally different job.
And that's where you need to relinquish the power to your engineer if you're not engineering.
Yeah.
You got to have somebody you trust. And that's where the trust comes into play, like you were saying. Not even just running Pro Tools. You got to have trust that the guy's going to... You're an engineer, so you're going to be able to communicate with him in the language that he understands.
Yeah.
But as the producer, you got to give up a little bit of your control. You got to concentrate on dealing with the band and talking to the artist and working out the parts of the song and stuff like that. You don't want to be obsessing about things.
Yeah.
You got to have that interplay and that trust.
Well, and what you tend to do, is like you get into a studio and...
I mean, we're all control freaks. Let's just go there.
Yeah. Well, you're producing and you're engineering, and then you realize, I'm going to lean on my system. I'm leaning on him heavier than I think that he... Yeah. And you could do that for a day or two. If you're going to be in a situation where for a few weeks, you have to pay that person more money.
You got to pay him more money.
You have to pay them more money.
It's not right. It's not right because they're doing... extra work.
Yeah, because when I was assisting, that felt very different too. And then the thing is that you're the person in the room representing the studio at all times.
Yes.
And at the end of the day,
I guess what we're trying to say, generally speaking, the assistant works for the studio and is under the employ of the studio. The first engineer and the producer, they're independent. They're working for the artist and the label.
Yeah. So they're client side.
Yeah, they're the client side.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, wait. So we got you here.
So now we're in LA, and
how was that? Was that a hard transition from Chicago to LA?
It was hard on a lot of levels. Well, one,
we're married. You got kids.
I'm married with kids. I was partners in a studio in Chicago, and I could see that people are starting to mix in Pro Tools now. It was I didn't want to become I was considering moving all my gear out to LA and trying to find a room, and it just didn't make sense because I think that the studio scene was different. I'm like, I'd rather go into a good room for
plenty of studios in LA.
Yeah, there's plenty of studios in LA, less now, and everyone just kind of had like a little like overdub room, and that was sort of the way you did it. But just meeting people and realizing that ultimately what I had to do was I had to stop going towards gigs that were going to hire me for the role I wanted to be in.
And just hire me for whatever was needed.
And find the gigs I wanted to be involved in, and you hire me in whatever role. And that's how I ended up assisting on a lot of projects. Yeah. And that's how I ended up meeting people. And
and in a studio like this, as opposed to being in your own room where you install your gear, you're going to meet a lot more people.
Yeah. You're gonna meet people. You're going to see the techniques. You're going to see all that stuff. And
you're going to meet artists.
When you're going to meet artists, and you're also going to meet... You're going to have musicians. I mean, this just needs to be said. If you have 4 to 5 musicians in a room looking at each other while they're playing, that's a whole different recording you're going to get than doing it piece by piece, sending files around to people.
Thank you for saying that. I mean, COVID, people had to figure a way around it. And I think there was some okay stuff that came out then, but God, there's some god-awful shit that came out. Because people need, musicians in particular.
Yeah.
And engineers too, I think. You need to have that give and take that's happening. Like we call them happy accidents that happen sometimes in the studio. Maybe a rewrite, something that'll happen. Or, hey, why don't we change this here? Change this part. and that's part of the creative process, big time.
Yeah, well, and
big time.
And the clock is ticking, so we need to make this decision like right now.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a decision we're going to need to live with. That inspires people. Whereas if you're at home, you're like, well, maybe I'll just turn the computer off and try again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And there's something to that. There's a place for that. But if I'm
the magic happens when musicians are playing together.
I think so.
And they're looking at each other, feeding off of each other,
yes.
vibing off of each other. Yep. People improvise and they go, I mean, you and I have witnessed it 100 million times. It's like, oh, dude, that's cool. Do that again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guitar player, bass player, and drummer. Oh, dude, oh, keys. Wait, oh, do that again.
And in my mind, what's wonderful about this moment in time, there's a lot of things that are not wonderful, but what is wonderful is that you can just put Pro Tools and record all day.
Let it roll.
And while musicians are
Capture
playing this one little nugget.
Then you can edit it later.
You can distort it.
I mean, you could do that with tape. It just costs you a fortune.
It's expensive.
You just let the tape roll. I was talking to my friend Tom Camuso, who, if you haven't met him, I want you to meet him. He runs the Les Paul Foundation studio next door at
United. We talked about that. Yeah, I'd love to.
I'd love for you to see it.
Yeah.
And he talked about Les. Les Paul, of course, one of the early pioneers, and he was friends with Bill Putnam, friends with Leo Fender. They were all friends, But he was really pioneering in this. He was recording his own stuff. He was overdubbing. It was just rolling. He never threw anything away. So it was kind of trippy because he would record and then he'd skip over here and do something else, and it wouldn't necessarily fit in. And later they said when they had the stems and they were trying to go through and clean stuff up and make it, because they do a lot of educational stuff. Uh-huh. But they've gone through all of his recordings that were at Library of Congress and trying to fit stuff like, oh, wait, here was another background vocal for that song that we didn't know existed. Oh, shit, it's over here on another reel, because it was just rolling. The machine was just rolling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but Pro Tools, it is a wonderful tool. Plugins are great. Outboard gear, we discussed that earlier. Why is it called outboard gear? Because it was in a board. Now it's out of the board, hence outboard gear. But I think what happens, and you said there's a lot of great things that don't happen now, which is that the reliance on too many plugins can suck the life out of the song.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you just keep piling shit on, you know what I mean?
And I'll explain what I think is happening there.
We call it the death spiral. In the studio, that's what we call it.
I mean, there's a few death spirals in the studio, and that's one of them. But because I do a lot more mixing now than I used to, and the one thing that theory I have.
By the way, it shouldn't be fix it in the mix.
Well,
you can, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be like, I'm going to hand you this pile of crap, and you have to polish this turd and turn it into a diamond.
Yeah, well, you can polish, so much.
There's only so much you can do.
Yeah, you can't turn a 2 into a 10. You can turn a 9 into a 10.
Yeah.
But what I've come to find out, like, I'll use the example of, say you're playing acoustic guitar in the studio, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you're hearing that acoustic guitar with a idiotic compressor on it, you play into it. And you groove with that compressor pumping. Oh, it's pumping in a weird way. That becomes part of your performance, and that becomes part of the groove. If you're a mixer and you pop that same compressor setting on to a track that wasn't listening to how that track's not interacting with the plugin anymore. Yeah. And the other musicians in the room aren't hearing that in their headphones, interacting with it either. And so my favorite way to record is to get it all sounding. Well, just get it all, however you need to do it, get it all sounding like a record and print it that way, even if it's
mix up while you're tracking.
Yes.
Of course.
Even to the point where, okay, like split line consoles. One side is the recording side, the other side is the playback side, right? Set the playback side so all the faders are at 0, and then you build your mix into the multi-track, so that way no matter where you go or what you're working on, if you pop all those faders at 0 and put everything left and right or whatever, you can hear more or less the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's what they're hearing in their headphones. And so if you want to do drastic things, I want to distort the drums. Now you're distorting the drums and the drummer's hearing it and he's interacting with it.
That's not cool.
I want them to.
Want that?
I want them to hear the treatment I'm doing, so they can interact with it musically. Because if I do it after the fact, it isn't as musical.
When it's also not true to what they were doing.
And it's not true to what they were doing. Yeah. And so
you're changing their song.
right. Well, I mean, here's a funny plug-in sort of thing I have, because when I'm mixing and somebody wants something more stressed and distorted, which is very popular to do, that gives me anxiety because there's so many different ways to do it. It's like, well, which way do you like it? Do you want it to sound like shit or like this?
Do you want crunchy? Do you want distorted or loud?
And what I've come to discover is whenever anyone asks for that, I just distort a 1073 plug-in, and we always move on to the next note. Like, that's the thing that everybody wants to hear.
That's funny.
And so I don't go through 10 different distortion settings. I just use the one.
Well, so when you make your online course, you're going to need to come up with other shit because you're only going to have one class.
I'm only going to have one big class. Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. But well, I think it's such a. I mean, you know how much I appreciate engineers, and I think they're the unsung hero of fucking everything we've been hearing for 60 fucking years. And people, we're still behind the scenes people. I mean, I'm not in the room. I'm a facilitator in that I try to make sure that everything's cool and everybody's happy and everything. But there's so much trust that goes on in both of our jobs. And it's like, okay, well, I always say, without the artist, there wouldn't be any music.
Yeah.
But without the engineer, no one would hear it.
No one would hear it. In the woods, if it falls in the woods.
I mean, live, performance notwithstanding.
Yeah.
That would be one thing, the bar band.
Yeah.
But if no one's recording it, it's not going to go into posterity. It's not going to have any lasting, impact. It's not going to exist after that moment.
Yeah.
And that's why engineers, everybody, I can't believe I'm still having this conversation. It happened to me when I started in 1985, and I'm still occasionally having this conversation where people will say, well, I don't know why I need an engineer. And I'm like, well, you wouldn't get on a plane without a pilot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, and
people think they're engineers when they're just, not to say that if you're not fast on Pro Tools, that isn't a great thing.
Yeah.
But this is the instrument of a real engineer. The hearing. One heart, but hearing.
And the great ones are going to make it sound the way they're going to make it sound.
Yeah.
Within reason. In other words, like I have like a line of what I think is like a professional recording situation. You know what I mean? Like as far as the studio build out, the music, gear, whatever.
Musicians are good musicians.
Yeah, yeah.
They can play their parts.
But they're gonna. So it is all about your ear at the end of the day, and also not just your ear, but also knowing like. That's a trend I'll get down with and put on this record. This one, I think we're going to regret 3 years from now. You know what I mean? Like,
you don't want something to sound dated.
Yeah.
And also different genres of music require different care.
Yeah.
And different treatment, different EQing, different mics, obviously, for different instruments.
But you know what? I
use the same mic on every instrument.
Kinda. I really do. And most of the engineers I know, like when mixing stuff for Joe for years, the styles could come in very different, but the way the tracks are laid out are very similar. So it's down to the way he gets the sounds from the drummer.
But you use different mics for different instruments.
Sometimes. Yeah. I mean, I have my go-tos. We all have our go-tos, and
it depends on the person's voice. Like if it's a singer, maybe it's a 251 is great. Maybe a 67 is great. Depends on the timbre of their voice, how their voice is.
Sure. Well, there's that. But, right. I do not do the shootout. Like, I will do a shootout.
Yeah, I know.
If somebody wants to do a shootout, I'm glad to do that.
Yeah.
But, like...
You're not going to go wrong with a 67 or 47.
If I put up a 47 or a 67, it's going to sound great.
You're going to be fine.
I don't want to put a singer through that. I think they can be vibe killers.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you need to have your plan in place.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, ideally... You're familiar with someone hires you, you go check them out. God bless what's thing called the internet.
Yeah.
You go check them out, or you listen to their music on Spotify or whatever, and you get a handle. If it's a new band and it's a first record, how fun is that?
Go see the band. Go hang out at the rehearsals.
Go see them live. Do the pre-production.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
it's a lot going on. It's a team effort.
Well, and you know this, but like. I can't think of anyone who's done more for not just mine, but so many people I know. And like, you've been a matchmaker of engineers to producers, and have done it so well. And
I love being a connector.
Yeah,
that to me is the best because we want everybody to be working. We want everybody to be cool. While I was at AES this weekend, and it was like, hey, I need a drummer. And a shout out, I call Matt Chamberlain. He's in Europe, but he responds via text. It's Candace, I'm not available on my tour. I'm like, okay, going thinking in my head, or who's a great drummer who might be available in an hour to do this session while I'm in Long Beach and they're here. And they wanted my client in Studio 3, Dan Tannenbaum's great. And he's like, I need this like pop drummer. And that's my first thought is, I'll get Matt Chamberlain. Or obviously there's many great drummers.
A dozen guys that are
Victor Indrizzo, Vinny Colaiuta, you know, Kenny Aronoff. So if I didn't say your name, just know that I think you're fucking amazing.
Your name here.
Yeah, I think you're amazing. But it's been my privilege and my honor to be able to help people do that. And, you know, and it's been a great payback and very rewarding for me, because the people that have worked, I didn't think about this when I started. When I started at Take One in 1985 working for my brother, I didn't think about those people that were becoming assistants, or like I met Robert Carranza then, you know, and all these people that I met then. And I was meeting, you know, of course I knew Jim Scott and Mike Klink through my brothers, but the people that were coming up as assistants, they weren't already first. They weren't already producers. They were coming up as assistants. And so many of those people, dude, and then the people that came and worked for me as staff guys, like you were, you know, like you said, you brought the Jerry Lee record here, and you brought so many records here, and they all end up coming back and bringing me work. I've basically been training my own clients for fucking 40 years, which is like a winning combination.
It becomes like a
circle.
Like a feedback loop in a good way.
Yeah.
Because the best way to make a good sounding record is to have everyone in the room be the best at what they do. You
know? And obviously you're going to want to go to a room, you know, if you're comfortable with your alma mater, if you worked in a studio as a staff assistant, you're going to know those rooms better than any other rooms.
Yeah.
You're going to have fun going to Abbey Road. You're going to have fun going to smaller studios. You're going to have fun. You're going to have to prove yourself and prove your ability.
Yeah.
But when you come into a room that you know it takes away some of that anxiety, and you have this peace of mind, like, I got this because I know this room.
Yeah.
I learned here.
Yeah. I can
know
make a patch if I need to.
Yeah, I know what to do here. I know how to use this to my advantage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So everybody comes out smelling like a rose because you're confident. I'm happy. You're bringing me work.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing good. Well, it's all great.
And you know, and the other thing I'll say, and
it's a circle of love.
It's a circle of love. I've made this case many times. I hope to make it many times more on certain projects, where I say, you know, we can go to this studio, whatever, and it'll work, and we'll get it happening. At this studio, like,
it'll be amazing.
Drums will arrive at 10, and by 10:30, like, we're moving on to the next instrument. Like, we've got to, like, drum sounds happen.
Studio 2 is going to make you look like a drum guy.
In 10, 15 minutes, you are done, and you're moving on to something else.
Yeah.
So it's a good value. You get the bang for the buck even if
the rate is higher. And we were talking about this. One of the things and you're a little bit younger than me, but one of the things that has changed in my career is when I first started, and it isn't even that record budgets were bigger. I'm not really having trouble getting my rates now, you know, even with new artists, because there's new A&R people and they're not clinging to old rates.
Yeah.
But also, I think what happens is the main thing, the difference for me, is back then I had to know 10 producers because everybody spent a year making a record.
Right.
Right? Now I got to know 100 or I got to know 50, right? But you'll come in and I'll say to people, look, save up your money, like you basically what you just said. Save up your money. Let's book one day in Studio 2 and do our rhythm tracks.
Yeah.
Then we'll take it back to my place, we'll overdub it, and I'll mix it.
Yeah.
You know, more bang for the buck. You'll spend, you know, $2,000 or whatever you spend on that one day, and you'll get 10 tracks done, or get 6 tracks done, or whatever you need to do. Maybe do 2 days, you do the whole record, you know?
Well, and you can, in Studio 2, for example, if you have an artist, you can get an artist with the band. You have the dog houses, so you can get as much isolation as you need. You don't need ISO booths for stuff. Like if you just point the amps in certain directions.
Dude, okay, this is what we're going to say it. We're going to say it on the show. So when someone comes in to do specifically, I'll use a string data as an example. My brothers are engineers. I've been around engineers for a long time. I'm a layperson. I listen to music. I'm just a fan, right? But when I walk into Studio 1 or Studio 2, and I am very fortunate, these are amazing sounding rooms, but when I see someone doing like a 15-piece string date and they've got 40 mics on it, I'm like, okay, you're defeating the purpose. Why are you close miking yes, you're going to mic the violins or whatever, but why are you close miking everything, isolating everything, doing everything? You're missing out on the other instrument of the room.
It's the way it's all supposed to, the stew of the way it all comes together, yeah.
The room as instrument is going to get lost if you don't use it.
Yeah.
Put some overheads up.
Yeah.
Put up some N50s.
Yeah.
Mic the 4 violins with 1 or 2 mics.
Okay. I'll tell you.
Don't go crazy.
I'll tell you this is. I mean, I don't know if this is 100%
in line. I don't care what you say.
But my first real thing when I was on staff here, we did the Hollywood Library.
Okay, that's a different thing, the libraries.
Okay, but this is.
Oh, it's so tedious. I love you, Doug, but it's so tedious.
No, I won't get. But the actual recording is tedious can be, but the setup is fascinating for engineers. If you want to get into it, the first thing was with Sean Murphy, and it was
great.
32 tube mics going down to 5 stereo tracks off the floor for 3 weeks.
Crazy.
That was the setup, and so. We had, the Decca. We had the outriggers. We had some surround mics. We had some mids. It was close, mid, main, which is the Decca.
He's a fucking genius.
He was such a genius that we kind of got it all close, and we were getting it all close. And the funny thing was, Reese was my right hand. Was working with us, and he's like, I'm trying to make sure that the capsules the capsules are right at 10 feet 6 inches, 10 and a half feet. And he's like, mate, it's not digital. Sean Murphy comes in, we're shooting lasers through the room, like to make sure that.
Oh yeah, he is super precise.
Is once we got those 3 microphones exactly at the right position, you could hear it in the control room how much more weight everything had.
Mic placement's a real thing.
Yeah,
without question.
And in that room, and he got to the point where we got everything happening. And then I noticed, so then the string section came, it was first day was 40 piece, and he didn't touch anything. He had already had everything dialed in by moving the mics and moving the chairs around. Yep. And that was how he tweaked everything.
Yeah, when I talk about over miking, it's someone like that. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
When I talk about over miking with someone who's nervous, and again, like you were talking about isolation, I just want to, this violin on this track, and I want to, create
Oh, no.
It's like, it doesn't work that way. It's unmusical. That's a good word.
Yeah. But no, where I was going with that point is Studio 2, you have, as I said, like all the baffles that you need, and then you put the singer in the booth.
Yeah.
And then if the singer's cutting with the band, and the band does 6 takes, you're getting 6 takes of the singer on a U47 through a proper vocal chain.
Yeah.
So not only did you get the rhythm section, but there's a 50%
you
chance
that
you can comp a finished lead vocal.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
When you have that singer sounding great through a great microphone, the band has something they can focus on. Now they understand what their job is.
Where they fit into the pocket of what's happening.
Yeah. So to put like a dynamic mic on a singer and have that singer like singing an octave lower, like, well, this isn't the final vocal. But wait a minute. Now all the guitar voicings don't sound correct.
All scratch vocals are final vocals, potentially.
Right. But when you get into a proper studio, they look around and they see it and they smell it and they go, oh, this is serious.
This is real.
This is serious what we're doing right now. Like, I better sing.
I wonder, and some people have said to me that when they walk and they look up the history, if they've never been here, that it intimidates them. And I said, well, it's not supposed to intimidate you. It's supposed to inspire you.
Yeah.
It's supposed to make you feel like, man, I'm in a room where Frank Sinatra did my way. I'm going to get my shit together.
For sure. Well, and the thing
or
is...
Or Tom Petty or wherever. Anthony Kiedis.
Everyone in the world has been listening to these rooms their entire lives.
For 50 or 60 years,
Their entire lives.
Yeah.
And so that's the weird thing. That's the weird thing that happens. You go in there, and you hear the first time you pull up the chamber, you're like, this is like grassroots. This is like Mamas and Papas. And it's because that's
the same sound. Yeah.
That's the exact same sound.
We're both so lucky. And I know you're still doing super cool, crazy stuff. And you got a room in your house that you like. And thank you for bringing me stuff when you can. I'm going to wrap this up. But I was going to say, like, I'm going to retire pretty soon, probably next year. And someone said to me, I'm going to do other stuff. It's not like I'm going to fall off the face of the earth. Hopefully I'll be working with East West Sounds. I'll still be working with Doug doing things. Hopefully I'll do consulting, stuff like that.
You're not going to just erase your Rolodex off your phone and say,
no.
I'm done.
But if I do, when I want to move back to South Carolina, to Charleston, but even when I go there for a visit, or even when I go anywhere, like I go to the movies, and I go, oh, wow, we did this. You know what I mean? The satisfaction, I'm not an engineer, I'm not an artist, but the satisfaction of knowing that I helped facilitate that in some way is hugely rewarding. Like a funny story that connects on that. It's an old story, which you'll appreciate. So it's kind of a drug story, but I
aren't they all though?
This is we didn't really talk about the shenanigans that goes on. Yeah,
that's a different podcast.
But I was very rarely would I say to someone, like if I'm in a restaurant in Charleston and I'm in an oyster bar and a song comes on, I don't say to the bartender, like, I don't act like I did the record because I didn't. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't say like, oh, I did that U2. Yeah. I don't say that.
But you worked on the project.
You know, but I was part of the project, right? Whatever. So this is years ago, and I'm in Brighton, and I'm with my husband, and he is a pot smoker. My husband, Brian, is an amazing guitar player. And champion pot smoker.
Amazing pot smoker.
Champion pot smoker. And I don't even think about the fact that they don't really have weed in the UK per se. It's more like hash. But I'm in a bar, and I should tell the Peppers this the next time I see the bandmates, is that I'm in a bar and they're playing Red Hot Chili Peppers, and it's like, I don't know, 2003 or something, whatever record that was. And I had a special thanks on the back of the CD at the time. And so I'm in a pub and I hear this Chili Peppers track. I'm like, fuck, how am I going to get drugs? And I'm like, I know, I'll talk to the bartender, because I used to be a bartender. Yeah. Everybody knows a bartender.
You're
and the
good
concierge,
with bartenders,
the bartender has drugs or connections. And so I go up and I go, hey, this Chili Peppers, I go, is that a CD? And he goes, yeah. And I go, do you have the CD case? And he goes, yeah. So he goes and he gets it, and I have my business card in my pocket. Yeah. It's my cello business card, right? And I pull it out and I go, that's me. And he goes, well, that's cool. And I'm like, can you help me find drugs? And he goes,
that's what it says on the other side of the business card in like 5 languages.
Yeah. Or it's got blow on it. But I'm like, can you help me find drugs? And he goes, sure. Come back later. And I end up getting like an ounce of this like Afghani hash, and we're in Eastbourne in this timeshare. And Brian and I are going to Paris the next day. And Brian never smoked hash, like with the plate, with the pin, with the glass. Yeah. I'm really giving away my secrets now. Yeah. How to smoke hash when you don't have a hash pipe. And so it's like incense. You light it on fire, you put the glass over it, and you go. Anyway, so I'm doing that. And Brian says, we're going to Paris the next day. He goes, oh, well, we'll just take. I go, no, we're not taking drugs into Paris. This is like 2003.
That's one thing my mom taught me. Don't cross borders.
Yeah, don't cross any borders. You know what I mean? Don't go into a state park, a federal park with drugs.
Yeah, good advice.
So, so we end up having to smoke this entire ounce of hash in like one night.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah,
we get so fucking high. We end up going to this pub, and because our name is Stewart, I convinced the people in the pub that Brian is related to Rod Stewart, and they let him sit in, and he plays guitar with
Nice. There you go. There you go.
So there you go.
Yeah, see,
it's all about mic placement.
Well, it's all about, hey, I got my name on this record here. Yeah.
But just knowing that's a satisfaction to me. And I was laughing. I said, when I move, I'm going to build like a room in my house. It's going to be my office, right? But it's going to be like a shrine. Like, I'm going to try to get the couch with the patches out there. I'm going to ask Doug if I can have, what I'm saying? And then I'm going to have, like, the podcast. I'm going to have, like, records, pictures. I don't have that many pictures. Like, Paula has so many pictures. And one of the reasons I started doing this podcast was because I wanted to have something for posterity, for all the people that I love and that I've met, like you, and that I've worked with.
I feel honored to be. I was looking on the website, and you've. I know a lot of these people.
I talked to a
friends.
few people, and it's been so cool. And the reason that I came up with the kind of the way that I go with what I go with, like, where were you born, where did you grow up, what did you do, is because I started finding that when I was talking to like Jim Scott, and he's such a great example. Like, I didn't know Jim's dad worked with Lee Iacocca. I'd known Jim for 40 years. I never knew that. Yeah. I didn't know that Moogie Canazio was a DJ. You know, Moogie was a DJ. I love you, Moogie. I love you, Jim. I didn't know Moogie was a DJ. And he tells me that he comes to the U.S. with his wife and young child. He doesn't really know what the fuck he's doing. And he's working at Kendon. And Kendon at that time had the Glenwood Place locations, the Encore location, and Artisan, which was here in Hollywood. And my brother worked for Kendon and was at that time, by then, after leaving the record plant, he's a first engineer, but he was a staff assistant on this session. And Moogie walks in. He was either assistant or first. I think he was the assistant. And Moogie walks in, and my brother had been working for like 18 hours. My brother, Rick, I never knew this story until Moogie told me on the podcast. And Moogie walks in, my brother goes, yeah, I'm burnt, dude. You're taking over. I don't know who the artist was. Yeah. And he goes, and he just hands Moogie. He says, Moogie's never been in the room.
Figure it out.
Yeah, figure it out, bro.
Yeah.
And Moogie was like, oh, crap. Like, your brother Rick said, like, dude, you're on.
Yeah. Well, and he figured it out.
He did. He certainly
really
did.
figured it out.
Dude, he so figured it out.
Yeah,
he's so wonderful and so talented. But I look forward to, is there anything you're doing you can tell us about? I'm sure you're doing some cool stuff.
You know, I do a lot of, people send me files to mix. I've been doing a lot of that. I've been doing a lot of catalog remixing work.
That's good for income and for keeping the fam going.
Yeah.
But you do know, ladies and gentlemen, that you can hire Ken Sluiter. And if you don't know how to reach Ken Sluiter, and you're listening to this podcast.
1-800-KEN-SLUITER. No.
Well, if you're listening to this podcast, you can go to Candace Stewart or Candace at eastweststudio.com or CandaceRStewart@gmail. You can basically just look at the podcast and reach out to me on Instagram or whatever. And if you need to meet somebody that I've talked to, I'm going to introduce you.
Yeah. So
there you go. So hire Ken.
Yeah. And I would say, and I think that this is probably true of most people who do what I do. Like I don't want to use the word drift because that sounds like I'm not focused.
But you can do multiple genres. You can do multiple things.
Well, and for me, the last 10 years has been a big chunk of it has been film score, score mixing, and which has always been a part of Hollywood, obviously, and
hoping it stays.
And and not even so much like the traditional string dates and stuff, but more of sitting with like musicians and synthesizers, creating you're Blade Runner type stuff.
Or you're creating sounds, sound design.
Yeah.
Sound design is so crucial. It takes a village. You know what I mean? And I think it's cool that you're multi-talented and can do all these different things. I think it's great. And I'm telling you, I'm going to full circle it all the way back to when you learned how to do that jingles and that jingle timing.
Yeah.
Irreplaceable ability.
Yeah.
To be able to move on the fly, think on the fly, decide on the fly. Live sound even more so. That's insane. And live sound, it's unforgiving. Yeah, you're fucked. Yeah. Shit has got to happen, and everyone's looking at you.
Oh yeah. Well, the bass player hits the wrong note or starts in the wrong key. No one's looking at the bass player. Everyone's looking at the sound guy. Like, what's the guy? He hit the suck button. It's like, no, bass player's a whole step away from the key of the song.
I love that, the suck button. How many times, and I'll close up with this, have you ever done this? I want to see if you've ever done this. And you can tell the truth because it's my podcast and I don't care. Have you ever created the dummy fader for a client? Because I know I did it when I was an assistant. I'm admitting it.
Yeah.
To sort of occupy people and sort of keep them, get out of their own ways. I'm going to give them this fader going to nowhere.
Yeah, fader to nowhere, yeah.
That they can fuck with and think that they're actually doing something.
I don't know if
You've never done that?
I don't know if I've done that specific thing, but I'm not saying I haven't done things like that. I'm not saying it's because I'm a good person or an honest person, but I just don't think I ever had a spare fader.
Well, I think you are both those things. I think you're a good and honest person. But sometimes you have to protect them.
Well, yes.
Just saying.
Well, that's the thing is you have to sometimes care more about the project than you have to serve the artist, but at the same time being like you got to protect them. You're gonna regret this. I'm gonna.
Like you said, you have to. You want their music to last. You want it to speak to time. You don't want it to be dated or sound weird or funky.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But you could do funky, cool effects with old gear. Like you could do old analog synthesizers. You could do crazy cool shit.
Well, honestly, I will even.
But that whole Thomas Dolby thing and all that kind of stuff and all that super heavily synth-driven shit, I love that shit.
Yeah. Oh no. I love the sound of a drum machine and a sequencer just chugging away, like Human League, Gary Newman, all that stuff. I love it. I can't get enough of it. I want to be around it all the time. Yes to all of it.
Yes to
it's
all
rock
things.
And roll to me.
Dude, thank you so much for being on the show. And I know you're doing amazing stuff. And again, I love that you're mixing, but you're a great tracking engineer.
I'd love to.
And so
do
don't
more.
give up tracking.
I'd love to. I hope those. I want to.
Yeah, calls are coming.
Yeah.
There you go.
The calls are coming in now.
The calls are coming in now. 1-800-AGAINST-Sluiter.com. Anyway, thank you so much for being on the show. So I love you so much.
Thank you. All right, do we hug now?
Yeah, we hug and we do pictures and.
All right.
Nate, am I hitting space bar or what am I doing?